Hey everybody, it's been a little while. I've been on the road a bit, and I've got a lot of ideas for videos that I'm working on. And as I was working on those, some news broke. And the news is this: the Calgary Flames have made a signing, and they've signed one of their top prospects. That prospect's name is Aydar Suniev. He is a third round pick from the 2023 draft. He was selected by the Flames with the draft selection they received in the Tyler Toffoli trade with New Jersey. The team also obtained Igor Sharangovich in that trade. Suniev is a left shot winger, born in November 2004. So he's born the same week as Sam Honzik. He's a few days younger than Sam Honzik, but about the same age. Same week is basically means the same age. And he's had a bit of a unique journey in the hockey world. He's originally from Kazan, Russia, and before his 15th birthday, 14 going on 15, he moved to North America to pursue his hockey dreams. He was playing in prep school hockey, and I'm sure you're aware that over the last few years, the diplomatic situation between Russia and both Canada and the United States at various points has been challenging, difficult, complicated. Pick a word, and that's probably the right description. There's also a pandemic in there, which made any kind of cross-border travel challenging. And so Suniev, as a Russian national playing as a minor in a foreign country, actually two different foreign countries, he's had to deal with some logistical challenges and visa challenges that I think a lot of players his age have not had to deal with. And so he sort of bounced around a little bit. He spent some time on both sides of the border in prep school. He eventually ended up in 21-22 playing with the Penticton Vs for the most of the season, and he played pretty well, had some good numbers. The following season, 22-23, he spent the whole year in one place for once. The whole season he spent with the Penticton Vs, and shock and shock, he was really awesome. He on a very good team in Penticton. He had 45 goals and 90 points in 50 games. That's 5 goals shy of a goal per game. The Vs that season were a powerhouse, and so he had great numbers, and it led to him getting drafted by the Flames. He went to the Hockey East Conference with UMass, the University of Massachusetts, the Minutemen, and Hockey East has a reputation for being a very good conference. Johnny Gaudreau played for Boston College. A lot of good players have played for Boston College. They also have Boston University in that conference, a bunch of other good teams. It's considered one of the stronger conferences in college hockey, and it's hard to put up numbers in a strong conference because everybody's good. You're never playing against bad teams. And so he went in there as a freshman and learned the college game, rounded out his game a bit, and he became, by the end of the season, a really useful, valuable, versatile player for the Minutemen. And then he returned for his sophomore year this season, 24-25. And aside from 5 games that he missed due to injury, he was one of their key players the whole year. First over the boards in key offensive situations, late in games, up a goal, down a goal. If you need a goal, you'd put on Aydar Suniev, and he ended up scoring 20 goals. And shock of shocks, it's his exact same goal scoring total that Matt Coronado had in his sophomore year. And so it led to the Flames having a lot of interest in signing him because there's a certain amount of developing you can do in the collegiate game, and then once you've developed to a certain point, the big question is, would your development be better served playing professional hockey or playing in college for another year? And so the decision was made that the Flames would go, hey, want to come out? And after some negotiation, he signed his entry-level deal. So he's reported to the Flames. The first year of his deal is burnt, and he's off and running. And so it's a really interesting time for a really interesting player, and there's a lot of things that could happen with him. As an aside, Suniev had a really good end of the season, but his last little bit was kind of wonky. So in the first regional game, they played Minnesota, and Suniev was great. He had 2 goals. His first goal sparked a comeback to force overtime for UMass, and then he had a deflection goal that was the overtime winner to send them to the regional final. They played Western Michigan, and he got booted out of the game for what was termed a check from behind. reasonable people are allowed to disagree, and we have the benefit of hindsight and video. And, they do review major penalties in the NCAA. And to be honest, I don't think this is necessarily a check from behind. It was definitely a boarding penalty at the very least. But I don't know if it merited him getting kicked out of the game. But you take away perhaps UMass's most important defensive player, or one of their 2 or 3 most important players. And yeah, I'm not really surprised they lost by a goal to a very good Western Michigan team. So that's an aside. I think the last college experience that he had was Suniev, unfortunately getting booted out of his last game. So what can the Flames fans expect from Suniev? I'm going to read a statement from UMass head coach Greg Carville, because it pretty much tells you kind of what you need to know about Suniev. Aydar Suniev had 2 exceptional seasons here at UMass and has earned his contract from the Calgary Flames. Aydar arrived on campus a highly touted offensive player, and during his time with this program, he has become a high-level competitor with a well-balanced game on the ice. Aydar's commitment to improving his game in every respect and becoming a selfless teammate were significant. Aydar scored a lot of big goals for us, and we will miss the explosiveness he brought to our team and the values he brought to our culture. We are all excited to see him become an NHL player. So, what can you expect from Suniev? Well, the good thing is he's big. He's got NHL size. He's listed at 6'2", depending on, how big a meal he's eaten and when he's weighed. He's in the 190s, maybe up to the 200s. And he's a big kid, and he seems like the kind of kid who would have a frame that you can add to. And so, he's had 1 or 2 summers really working with the Flames development staff. This experience the next little bit will give him some time. He signed his entry-level contract immediately. The first year is burnt right away with him reporting to the team, which means that the Flames will get some hands-on time with him, and Suniev gets the clock running on his deal right away. I've heard some people ask, well, what's the cost benefit of this in terms of, what's in it for the player to sign now and burn the first year? What's in it for the Flames? So what's in it for the player is kind of interesting, because if you're Suniev, you get your signing bonus right away. You get a few weeks of NHL money, which ain't nothing, especially if you've been living in the dorms and playing college hockey. NHL money ain't nothing to sneeze at, even if it is only for a few weeks. And so that gets him going. It also gives him some time to really get a head start on training camp, rather than sort of just showing up cold or just showing up with a development camp. You sort of get these extra touch points. So this is a kid who moved to North America at 14, going on 15, and is obviously very motivated. And so it gets him some added time with the coaching staff, with the training staff, the development staff. And so you get sort of a head start of the summer. So when he comes back in July for development camp, they'll have already gotten a head start on his progress. And if you're a player like him who is probably very committed to being a good pro, it gives you a lot of ability to have a good start to your pro career. And so even if he's not going to play a lot of games, which we'll get into, he probably won't play a lot of games this year because of where the Flames are in the standings, it gives an important prospect in the system a chance to be successful quickly. And, we've seen a lot of players come in. We saw, Matt Coronado a couple years ago. Other guys come in and done this too, but Coronado is the most recent example. I think Coronado's development was really helped by coming in and sort of getting that start off. Even if he didn't play, Coronado only played 1 game. So for Suniev, you might only get a game or 2. You might not get any games, but I think it really helps. And last but not least, it gets the clock running for Suniev on his next contract. So if you're a player who really believes in your ability, or if you're an agent just wants to get out of the entry-level system faster, there's an entry-level cap. First NHL contracts are sort of capped in terms of bonuses and salaries and stuff. It gets you to your next contract faster, and it gets a chance to get the ball rolling in your next one. From the Flames perspective, it's actually kind of similar. The cool thing is, a lot of the incentives are very similar for the Flames. An important player gets a chance to get into your system faster. If the idea is, for the Flames perspective, ideally, while Suniev is under an entry-level contract and his salary's capped, you want him to be a productive NHL player or productive pro player as soon as humanly possible. And getting him off and running faster, if it gets him into the system and gets him going, there's a value in that. And there's a potential to have him play useful NHL games quickly. similar to, I think the Flames definitely had a benefit of having guys like, even Coronado. Coronado is the most obvious comparator because he's of a similar age and, his similar situation. Coronado playing a year and a half, especially this past year, it gets you a chance to get him productive, get him quickly, and also get him productive while he's under a contract that's cheap. And so, there's a benefit there. Also, from a pure contractual standpoint, when Suniev's contract is up, similar to this summer when Coronado's contract is up, he will not be eligible to be offer sheeted. He'll be what's known as a 10-2 subsection C RFA, which means he simply just doesn't have the experience necessary under the CBA to accept offer sheets. So, there's typically guys coming out of their entry-level contracts very rarely get offer sheeted anyway, but it's just one less thing you have to worry about from the Flames perspective. So if you're the Flames, you give a bit because you're burning the first year and you're getting the guy's contract clock running faster. But on the other hand, you're sort of compensated contractually because he can't be offer sheeted on the back end of it. So it's a little bit of give and take. So, it's an interesting situation for the player and for the team, but he's a player that the Flames obviously really like, and he's enthusiastic about playing. You don't come over as a teenager from Russia and, to be blunt, put up with the kind of weird logistical challenges he has between jumping between the U.S. and Canada to get playing time and changing schools and changing teams as often as he did before he went to college, unless you're really passionate. And he's a very good player, and we've heard a lot of good things about him from people who've played with him, both in Penticton, coached him in Penticton. The UMass folks all rave about him, and he seems like someone who really has a passion and a talent for it. And now it's just a question of how quickly can he refine that talent and become a productive pro player. And finally, Suniev comes into the organization at a really unique and interesting time. He'll be a full-time pro in the fall, 25-26. He obviously gets a taste now, but he'll be a regular pro player next season. And he'll be joining a really interesting first-year pro class. It looks to include goalie Owen Say, defenseman Etienne Morin, and forwards like Andrew Basha and Matvei Gridin, and potentially Penn State goalie Arseny Sergayev. No one's really, when he's done, I think the Flames will make a big push to get him signed because, you have to really get nervous if collegiate players go back for a senior year, and Sergayev has been so good for Penn State this year. So potentially you could have, those potentially 6 guys entering the entry-level system, all playing for the Wranglers or potentially even Rapid City. And, it's going to be a really interesting environment for these players because this is sort of your first crop of players that were drafted or recruited outside of Sergayev under Craig Conroy, and you sort of get a sense of sort of what the direction is going to be like for the franchise over the next few years as Conroy's vision starts getting, it goes from being, conceptual to being real, and having a lot of these guys that, him and the scouting staff looked at as junior and collegiate players, get them into the pro system and to see what they can turn into. So Suniev is a guy who's already answered a few questions in his career so far. Could a kid who bounced around prep school hockey and had a lot of weird logistical stuff and, visa stuff to deal with, could he translate that production into junior A? And the answer is yes, definitely yes. And then he was forced to answer the question, can he translate a fantastic junior A production level to a tough collegiate conference? And the answer is also yes. And so now the question is, can he figure out a way to translate some really strong collegiate production to the pro level? And, we're going to find out. At this point, his track record is very good, and he's shown to be a very smart, adaptable player. And pro hockey ain't easy. You got to work at it. But he seems to be a guy that between his size, his skill level, and, we've seen his adaptability in the past. So we'll see what he does. But, he's definitely someone to keep an eye on the system. And he's definitely someone that, Flames brass is excited about. And, Flames fans should be pretty excited about. So that's all I got for right now. I've got a lot of other videos in the works. So stay tuned to the channel over the next few weeks as I turn a lot of stuff that I was working on the road into actual real life videos. If you like this video, please click the like button. If you really like this video, please click the subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments, jump into the comments, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.